Hello there, I'm Kim Dodsworth with two short stories for your listening pleasure. Certainly, I don't mean to be presumptuous, but the stories in question have brought me reading pleasure, so I hope I can pass it on. Now, there are two stories today, not the usual one. Our author is Liam O'Reilly of Carina, Queensland. Liam is not a man to do things by halves. Last April, it was our pleasure to also broadcast two of his stories. Listen now to The Good Samaritan and Empty Chair. I consider myself a pretty good driver and a real hotshot when it comes to knowing the rules of the road. You can imagine how frustrating it is for me to venture out in the car, encountering all the fools and ignorant clowns who just happen to be out there whenever I'm around. I also think I'm a pretty good citizen, an all-round good Samaritan with a duty, indeed an obsession, to share my knowledge with the rest of mankind, leading them back to the straight and narrow. They too can be like me. And that's the bottom line in all the in-car arguments between my wife and me. I observe all these glaring transgressions every time we're out. My wife is the driver, as she can't stand the perfections of the Great One, and I need to be free to observe. "Blow your horn! Flash your lights!" I'll shout. He needs to know that he's wrong. Her usual answer can be, "Do you want to drive?" Or, "I don't want to punch you in the face by causing road rage." Or just a curt, "Shut up." She has a way with words. The roundabout is my favourite place for picking on those who are ignorant of the rules. "Look at that! He should have waited. We have the right of way," I'll shout excitedly. "I'll write that on your tombstone," my wife mutters. If we've already entered the roundabout, I detest seeing someone dashing out in front of me from the left and stealing a few metres advantage. My immediate reaction is to confront the culprit and give him a full seminar on roundabout rules and etiquette. That gave me the idea that I could make a fortune running seminars and workshops on how to deal with roundabouts. It would help if the Department of Transport, when issuing licences, made it a compulsory condition that all applicants attend one of O'Reilly's seminars. "That car in front, one of his brake lights is not working," I'll say. "Can you get alongside and I'll try to tell him?" This is my Good Samaritan side emerging. My wife gives me another one of her negatives. She has a whole dictionary full of them, and some you'd never find in a dictionary. I also feel that I should tell others that they risk a fine by chatting on the mobile phone as they drive. There are so many different ways that I can help people. Then I came up with a great idea, or was it my wife? I would write a whole series of signs which I could flash at other drivers whenever I needed to give them a message. For example, "Left brake light broken. Use your indicator for God's sake. Get off the phone. Get a move on. You're allowed 50k. Back tyre, driver's side is a bit flat. Your exhaust is loose. Your dog fell off the back. Move over, do you want the whole road? Have a nice day. Who do you think you are, Michael Shoemaker?" The last one might be a bit useless. How could I get up alongside? Then I further developed the idea. I would have a duplicate set of signs written back to front. Whenever we couldn't get alongside the offender, I'd hold up the sign anyway, and he'd read it in his rearview mirror. What a breakthrough! It's all a matter of communication. Get the good message across. So now I'm starting to work on my signs. The number needed seems to be growing day by day. I'm also trying to persuade my wife that we need a bigger car. But Rome wasn't built in a day. Sometime in the future, if you see a handsome fellow holding up a sign at you from his car, you'll know that it's the Good Samaritan with only your welfare in mind. I could save a fine, an accident, an expensive repair, or even a life. It gives me such a warm inner glow. Story 2. Empty Chair. Tom looked at the empty office chair in the corner. It looked lonely and neglected. He liked that chair. It had served him well through the years. He'd picked it up rather cheaply at a sale. He couldn't quite remember where. When he first got it and brought it home, he slid around his little office from computer to desk and sometimes out the door into the next room, like a kid with a new toy. But now he had a different set of wheels. His wheelchair was a necessity. He never felt like a kid with a new toy, even on the first day he sat in it. His old legs were the problem. He could stand and shuffle a few steps, but not for long, or for any distance. "Hi, Tom. Are you there?" It was Margaret, the home carer. "Yes, Margaret, the door's open." She came on most days during the week. She helped him take a shower and tidy up the house. She also did a bit of shopping and made some meals which he could heat and have in the evenings. Tom pushed over to the bookshelf and got the papers ready for her to sign before she left. Accountability, very important. Margaret floated into his little office. She was a good and pleasant lady who took up a lot of space. "Good morning, Tom. How are we today?" Tom always found this question difficult. He knew how he was, but how on earth could he know how she was? He'd decided long ago that this was a kind of medical lingo to be used only in some situations. So he always answered for the I and not the we. She seemed to accept that and never pushed for a complete answer. Tom had mixed feelings about the help provided to him by government and council and various volunteer organisations. He certainly appreciated the services provided, but at the same time he resented the dependence that was being built up. He felt his dependence growing like a cancer, and he seemed unable, or was he unwilling, to try to halt it. Margaret was busy cleaning and vacuuming the different rooms. "Are you ready for a shower, Tom?" Of course he was. Been ready since yesterday. He pushed himself over to the bathroom and pulled himself up by the support bars that had been installed there. Margaret hovered nearby to help him get his clothes off and get the water running at the right temperature. Tom could do this all alone. Would take a lot longer, certainly, but he could manage. But why bother if the help was standing by? Should he resist this help or just accept? He felt his identity slipping away. After the shower, the Meals on Wheels man arrived, and Margaret was busy getting plates and cutlery from the kitchen. Tom liked his kitchen, and both he and his wife, before she passed on, enjoyed cooking meals and baking. He missed that. Now the kitchen was rarely used. The fridge was the focus of attention, as meals and snacks were stored or retrieved throughout the day. "Can you come over here for me, Tom, this side of the table?" This was another expression from the medical dictionary that Tom had learned. The word please was replaced by for me. "Sit down for me." "Hold out your arm for me." "Can you close your eyes for me?" He must get one of those dictionaries. He could be missing a lot. Margaret was now in the empty chair completing the paperwork. "Is there anything else you need, Tom, before I go? The garden looks overgrown. I'll see if I can get someone over to tidy it up." Tom loved his garden, but apart from some pruning at the right height, there was not much he could do these days. "That'd be great," he said. "Thank you." Margaret stood up to go. As she made for the door, Tom couldn't resist it. "Can you close the door for me, Margaret?" She didn't respond. Tom was left with his thoughts. He was frail and somewhat disabled. He needed help, but the helpers presumed that he was 100% disabled, and so built his dependency. Tom accepted that his body was frail, but his mind was strong. This distinction had to be made. He looked at the empty chair. Unless he resisted this dependency, the chair could be a sign of things to come. A slow progression. Empty chair, empty kitchen, empty garden, empty house, empty life. He felt motivated. He'd fight this takeover by the well-meaning helpers. His strong mind will take charge of his frail body. Tomorrow, he'll work out a strategy to recapture his identity. And that's our program for today. 2 short stories by Liam O'Reilly of Carina, Queensland, The Good Samaritan and Empty Chair. I hope you'll join me again this time next week when there'll be more short stories of quality for you to listen to. I'm Kim Dodsworth, your Queensland storyteller.